Hi boys and girls. So today we are going to review Drawing a Conclusion. We're going to start our new story to read for this week. And then we're going to talk about drawing a conclusion. I'm going to give you guys 2 questions. After you're done with me, you could take out your writing journals and start to answer my questions. And then watch the second video that I'm going to post with the answers to the questions, possible answers to the questions. You might have better answers than mine. So yesterday we read a story about a rabbit, right? We read a story about a rabbit, and I asked you guys to answer a question about what you think, why do you think the father was nervous for his son, for his rabbit to think that he was a fox? Now, the father told us that he didn't want Robbie to make friends with the fox. But he doesn't tell us why, right? So we drew a conclusion based on what the story told us. We drew a conclusion thinking that he probably doesn't want him to make friends with the fox because he is a rabbit and he's going to end up being the fox's dinner or lunch or meal. So that is why. So we drew our own conclusion. So what does it really mean to draw a conclusion? When you read, sometimes you have to figure out things that the author leaves out. So the author did not tell us in that story that the father is worried that, the fox would eat the rabbit. That's why he doesn't want him to be friends. All he tells us is that he doesn't want him to make friends with him, right? So we drew the conclusion where we are thinking that the reason why the dad doesn't want him to make friends with the fox is because the fox would eat the rabbit, right? Okay, so when you draw a conclusion, you use details from the story and what you already know to come up with a new idea. So our new idea for that story was that the fox will eat the rabbit. Okay, so the story we're going to read today is going to be, you can also draw a conclusion, right? And I'm actually going to ask you one of the questions that I'm going to ask you is for you to draw a conclusion. Also, today we're learning the genre for today's story is animal fantasy, and that is when the animal characters talk and act like people. So the story we're going to read is about a mole who finds and takes care of a baby bird. Now, the second question I want you guys to think about, and you will be answering this one, is how can we look at things in a different way? So even in life, we see something one way and then something happens and we look at it completely differently now. So if, let's say if some of us used to enjoy being home more often, now that we're in quarantine, we kind of are like looking at it differently. Like, oh, I wish I was able to spend more time, being outdoors as opposed to being cooped up in the house all day or going places when I used to not want to go to these places. So like even us being in quarantine right now and being home more often, we're starting to realize certain things that we're looking at things in differently. So in the story, I want you guys to talk about, how does the mole look at things differently? Okay, so but we'll discuss this later after we read the story. So right now we're going to start reading the story. It is on page you guys could turn to your books to page 60. So I just told you the genre, and now we're going to move on. So the story is Mole and the Baby Bird by Marjorie Newman and illustrated by Patrick Benson. So question of the week, how can we look at things in a different way? So now on page 63, I'm going to start reading. Follow along with me. Mole found a baby bird. It had fallen out of its nest. Mole waited and waited, but no big bird came to help it. So Mole took the baby bird home. He made a nest for it. Look, he said to his mother. It's very, very hard to take care of a baby bird, she said. They usually die, said his dad. My bird won't die, said Mole. His friends helped him find food for the baby. His mother showed him how to feed it. Mole fed it whenever it chirped. And the bird didn't die, it grew. It's my pet bird, said Mole. It's not a pet bird, it's a wild bird, said his mother. The bird fluttered its wings. "Your bird is trying to fly," said his mother. "No," cried Mole. "It mustn't fly." Mole found some wood and some nails he borrowed his dad's toolbox. "What are you making?" asked his dad. "I'm making a cage for my pet bird, Mole." "It's not a pet bird, it's a wild bird," said his dad. "You should let it fly." "No," cried Mole. He put his bird into its new cage. Then the bird was sad. Mole's mother was sad too, but Mole kept his bird because he loved it. Then Granddad came to visit. He looked at the mole's pet bird. Presently, Grandpa said, "Let's go for a walk, little mole." Grandpa took Mole to the top of a high hill. Mole looked down at the trees far below. He felt the wild wind trying to lift him. "Whee, I'm flying," cried Mole. "Nearly," said Granddad. When Mole got home, he looked at his bird. It was sitting very still in its cage in Mole's dark underground room. "Birds are meant to fly," said Mole. He opened his cage door and he let his bird fly away because he loved it. Then he cried. The next day, Mole went into the forest. He saw his bird flying, soaring free, and Mole was glad. Okay, I thought that was a really cute story. I hope you guys enjoyed it and were able to read along with me. I didn't spell the words because I didn't want to keep pausing the video to do it. So you guys could spell all the words. These are our high frequency words. I'll just quickly go over them. We have door, we have loved, right? These are all the words that are highlighted in yellow. We have would and should. Okay, so you guys could practice spelling those words. Okay, so the questions I want you guys to answer, there will be 2 and I will post them, and then you can watch the second video to get the answers that I came up with. So why doesn't Mole want the baby bird to fly? Okay, so why doesn't Mole want the baby bird to fly? Okay, so that is one question. And the second question is, I wanted to find out, how did the mole start off by looking at something one way, and then by the end, he was starting to look at things differently. So how was he looking at things one way, and then towards the end of the story he looked at something at it completely differently? Okay, let me see if you guys can come up with the answer. So initially he thought that, you know, that was his pet bird, and his pet bird needed to be home, caged with him nearby because he loved him so much. But something changed. By the end of the story, how did he look at it differently? I think I gave away too much already. So take out your journals, your writing journals, and start writing. I will post up 2 questions up for you guys to see. If you guys are done early and you have time, please read along with me, Flat Stanley. I will continue reading the second chapter. Hopefully you guys got through the first chapter. I really enjoy this book, and I hope that you guys are enjoying it too. And also give me some feedback. I want to know if you guys like this story and if I should continue reading the next book of it, or if we should try a different book. I have several other chapters, short, easy chapter books we can read together. All right, and hope you're enjoying hanging out with Flat Miss Manana. Talk soon. Bye, guys.